Okay, everybody, let's get going with this podcast. We have Crissy here, and she's going to talk about her jugs. The book, The Love of Jugs. You can see it right in the front over here. Hi, Crissy. Welcome to the show.
Hello. I'm happy to be here.
So, you wrote a book, and it's called For the Love of Jugs. Now, okay, as she hides her coffee mug in front of her chest. So, tell me about how you came about writing a book for the love of jugs. Now, I'm assuming jugs have to do with something that you might hold and put like liquor in.
That would be one's mind, one's way of thinking. But no, that's not what it's about, unfortunately. It is a girlfriend's guide to a breast cancer journey, pretty much. So For the Love of Jugs, a breastie's guide, is not just a memoir. I am a breast cancer thriver, but it is...
Back up now.
Yeah.
Breast cancer thriver, not necessarily breast cancer survivor, like everybody else says. I never heard that phrase before. How'd you come up with that?
I don't love the word survivor. Survivor feels very like you're needing something from somebody else. It feels less powerful. Thriving feels like, okay.
You accomplished it. You beat it.
Beat it, but still trying to thrive after a cancer diagnosis is really challenging in itself. You have fear of recurrence and you fear of it coming back. And am I eating the right things? Am I doing the right things so that I never have to go through that again? And so when you can add that title to yourself, it feels more empowering. I'm about that a little bit more than, giving my power over to anything outside of myself,
Absolutely.
Cancer included.
Love that. So use that instead of the other one.
Yeah.
But so you said, you know what, I'm going to write a book about this because I think I can change some people's lives and maybe make them a little bit more comfortable with what they're going through.
Yeah.
And then they're not the only ones that are going through it, and there's support mechanisms.
Yeah, absolutely. Unfortunately, breast cancer is 1 in 8 women will be diagnosed. And
Wow.
I'm sure at some point, unfortunately, those numbers will go down or go up even more.
I was going to say, you're saying unfortunately it'll go down?
No, go up. Hopefully not. I think that more and more awareness in the preventative side and more things that people can do to just like nix like that and take care of their breast health will hopefully lower those numbers. But unfortunately, I think it's more and more not. And so 1 in 8 women, as of right now, are going to be diagnosed. So, daily, every second somebody's getting diagnosed. And when I decided to write the book, I was diagnosed actually in 2020, September of 2020, as if 2020 couldn't get any better, right?
Right.
I had to go through my own journey. I'm also a yoga instructor, so I stopped teaching yoga. I stopped doing things. I kind of went back into quarantine life because I just didn't know with chemo how my body would react to getting sick. So in all of that, in my own journey, I really dug deep into tapping into a lot of holistic healing alongside some of the conventional healing. And so bringing in meditation, bringing in pranic energy healing, bringing in EFT tapping and yoga and all of
EFT tapping, I'm aware of that.
So really adding those layers of healing to chemo, to a double mastectomy, to reconstruction, I think really helped in my healing and helped me get on the other side to being NED, no evidence of disease. Unfortunately, there's a lot of women that might never hear that, or like you're cancer free. And if they're metastatic or stage 4, they may, have to deal with it for the rest of their lives. So I wanted to turn my pain into purpose. I wanted to figure out how my voice can be heard and how I can make an impact in the breast cancer world. Because I do believe that our journeys in life are happening to us for a reason, one way or another. And for me, it felt like I was gifted breast cancer to be able to help others.
That's quite interesting because there's some things that happened to me when I was a child, and everybody's like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry." And I said, "Why?" it actually was an amazing lesson for me that I can have empathy for people that sit across from me and tell them, why hold on to it?
Right.
Move forward in your life. Don't dwell on what happened to you back then, because that's not going to change anything. But I believe that eating habits do have a lot to do with it, and that is what the administration is actually working on now. Hopefully, that will do something, like with the dyes and stuff like that. I don't know, but I'm hoping. Where I grew up on Long Island was a high breast cancer rate. And they were contributing it to the electrical poles that were by us.
Environmental, right? It's very
environmental.
Especially with all the buildings around and the restaurants and, smoke and just everything. There's a lot of things that can contribute to it.
So you must have an amazing personality, because how would one come up with the title?
So when I was writing the book, again, it's not just my story. I wanted it to be a guide, a helpful tool for the moment somebody is diagnosed, really kind of helping them, walk them through, not only to deal with a diagnosis like that, deal with whatever their journey, their protocol is going to look like, whether it's chemo, radiation, mastectomy, or lumpectomy.
These are big words.
Yeah. But I wanted to also include in some of the woo-woo stuff, right? Some of the holistic healing and the things that I did, and really let women know that we have the power inside of us to heal, and not to necessarily give power over to doctors or to anybody outside of ourselves. And I'm not saying that we don't need doctors. I definitely did chemo and
disclaimer there.
Exactly.
Go see your doctor and then let them decide.
I believe in an integrative approach. I believe that the two can work together. Both Eastern and Western, conventional and traditional medicines can work together. And so when I started going down, really writing the book, I felt that there's a lot of emotions in the book. There are moments that I make jokes and I laugh. There's moments that most likely these women could cry and scream and whatever. So I wanted the title to be catchy, and For the Love of Jugs is definitely that.
It is catchy.
And the story behind that is I was never a well-endowed girl prior to breast cancer. And I have a very funny brother-in-law who used to always call me Jugs. And he's like, all right, Jugs, what are we doing today, Jugs? What do you got going on, Jugs? What do you want to drink? And so when I was thinking about the title, I just thought, I'm like, for the love of Jugs, right? And just funny and catchy, and bringing a sense of lightness to what can be a very dark and heavy time in one's life. Yeah, it can be. But it doesn't have to be. You can make light in that darkness as well.
You can.
Yeah.
Let's talk realistic, though. So no matter what, I remember when my son was 8 years old, or 8 or 9, and the doctor called us up and said that they found a tumor on my son's brain, and that he really won't know anything for 2 weeks. So now that was the worst 2 weeks of my life.
Of course.
So we finally got the phone call, and the doctor said, "Listen, I really want to apologize. We got the wrong patient."
Oh my God! I just got the chills.
I know, right?
Wow, that's terrible.
So I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" Yeah. Well, just to let you know, we don't go to that doctor anymore, and my son's 35. But I can just imagine being diagnosed with something and then keeping yourself uplifted. Now, you said you quit yoga, which I believe that yoga might have helped you a bit.
I quit teaching yoga. I did not quit practicing yoga.
Good girl.
Yeah.
Because it's sort of a Zen way to do things.
I leaned into my yoga big time, but I couldn't give my energy out to students.
Correct.
So that's, yeah.
So during chemo, did you lose your hair?
So I did what is called cold capping. I wore a cap on my head the days that I had 6 rounds of kind of like the hardcore chemo that could make my hair fall out and make me really sick. And on those 6 days, I would wear a cap that was like -40 to -35 degrees. And it's
Negative 35 degrees.
Yeah.
I don't ever want to hear that again.
I am a native Floridian and I teach hot yoga. I was like, what is going on?
I'm with you on that.
Yeah. It was not easy. It was not fun. But my husband loves the same haircut that you do. Mm-hmm. And he said that that was his look in the family.
Mind you, this is really a haircut. Mm-hmm. I do grow a head of hair. But I have been doing this for probably 30 years.
So my husband's probably like 25 years, right? Yeah. So all jokes aside, he took on the cold capping extraordinaire role like a king. He had to change out the cap on my head every 15 to 20
What does that
minutes.
do, though?
So it helps to shrink the hair follicles so that the chemo, the drugs don't make its way all the way to the hair follicles, and that's what's making the hair fall out.
Really?
Yeah. So I did lose some hair. I probably lost maybe about 15 to 20% of my hair, but because I have so much, you couldn't really tell. My loved ones probably could, right at the crown, kind of around my face.
Does the doctors let you know about this?
They did. So I had, when you're diagnosed with cancer in general, you should have a kind of like a cancer, oh gosh, why can't I think of a navigator, right? And they're there to make sure that you're
cancer advisor.
Yeah. Like she was a breast cancer navigator, and she was amazing. And she just made sure that you kind of knew a lot of these things and made sure that you're getting all of the appointments scheduled that you need to, because it's a lot. And when you're first diagnosed, all you hear is like the Snoopy wah, 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 wah.
Right, yeah. That's the teacher.
Yeah. And so she told me, or told my husband about it. And we did the research, and some cancer centers actually have machines there that you can do it. And you just got to buy the cap, and it's a little bit more on the automated side and it's a little easier. But we had to do it manually, where my husband literally had to put the cap on every 15 to 20 minutes for 6 hours.
What do you
or
put,
8
you
hours.
put it in the freezer or something?
So the company that we rented it from had a huge cooler, and we had to go and buy 80 pounds of dry ice every day before and fill it with the dry ice. And then we had 6 caps that we would just rotate. And as I would take one off, he would be ready with the next one, put it on, and then put that one back in.
But you look like you have a fairly good head. So that's...
I thought about it hard. I was like, and it was a very tough decision. Like, to do it was the easy, to initially say I was going to do cold capping was an easy decision. After doing it one time, I was ready to quit.
Do it is another story.
I was ready to quit. I was legit.
It didn't give you a headache in any way.
It gave me a terrible headache. I got jaw pain because then there's also straps. Like, it has to literally be.
That must be very attractive.
Oh yeah, I looked like an alien, legit.
Okay.
I'll have to show you pictures. It was quite interesting. But
maybe we'll put the pictures along time on this.
Yeah, absolutely.
I really think that would be a good idea, so people can understand.
Yeah.
Because some people don't know about this. I am 63 years old, and I did not know anything about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
I mean, it's not for the weak, that's for sure. On top of chemo, I mean, the day of chemo doesn't really hurt. It's probably more emotional because you're in it. You know what's happening, right? You know what's going into your body. You know what's going on, but then you also don't know what's going on, right?
Do you perceive chemo to be poison in your body?
I did. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But I had a beautiful, and I still have a very dear friend of mine who's a pranic energy healer. She did a cancer protocol on me while I was going through it. And I remember speaking to her the day before, and she said, Crissy, you have to change your mindset around chemo. Yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yep.
I'm Chris and she's Crissy. Just so everybody doesn't. The regulars that watch the show, when she says Chris, they weren't talking to me.
Yeah.
So, go ahead.
Yeah. So I was very scared to have that put in my body. I'm one that didn't even really like taking ibuprofen, right? So I'm not really a medicine person. But she said, you have to change your mindset around the chemo. You have to be grateful for it. So she gave me a mantra to consider when I was doing the chemo, and I was closing my eyes and I got myself into a very meditative state. And I just started thinking, like, thank you, chemo, go where you're needed and leave the rest of my body unharmed.
Right.
And I would just repeat that. Go
manifestation.
Yeah.
manifest where it's going to go. And
yeah. You know, and it's not like that toxic positivity. I'm redirecting my mindset to be more positive rather than live in fear. Right. And in that negative mindset of not knowing what's going to go down, because you don't know what's going to go down. So why think about 50 million scenarios?
Did you attend, no, it's going to sound silly. I don't know.
No silly questions.
Now, guys have breast cancer too, just so you know.
Yeah.
So this goes for both sexes. Yes, it is more prominent in women than it would be in men, but men do have this. But do they have support groups? And if so, did you go to them?
So again, I was doing this in 2020, right? So everything was
that's
still kind of shut down. It was still September, so we were starting to live life here in Florida, but like the cancer centers were still very much like on lockdown.
Right.
So they did do them online. And I did actually attend a few of them, and they were helpful. The thing is, I was 42 when I got diagnosed, like literally was turning 43 2 weeks later. So I am one of the younger ones. And the support groups that I was attending were very much older people. And not to say that every older person that is diagnosed has the same mindset, but it felt sometimes very negative, and like that was the end of their life. And that was not my mindset at all.
Understood.
Right.
So it might bring you down.
Yeah. So there are a ton of support groups out there, whether it's for like people in their 30s and under, because unfortunately, it's more and more younger women and men are being diagnosed. There are some for men. There are some for even the support for the caretakers, which is really important too, because it's really hard. I mean, I'm not going to speak for my husband, but I know we've had this conversation multiple times, and I might get a little emotional about this because it is very hard for them to watch their loved one go through it and to feel helpless. And I think that's why my husband wanted to do the cold capping so much, because it gave him a job to do.
Right. To be part of this.
Yeah.
To help you.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you kind of do feel helpless, and like, what do you do? Like when, excuse me, when I had to wait 2 weeks to find out about my son, I was helpless.
Yeah.
What am I going to do? Go inside his brain and pick it out?
Right.
No, it doesn't work.
And you're dad, right? And you're supposed to take care of your children. And my husband feels that same way too. I'm supposed to take care of my family and my beautiful wife, who we've been together since we were 14 and 15.
Yeah, you said that.
Yeah.
So Jeannie and I, who you met just a little while ago, we went to high school together.
Yeah.
She had no idea who I was, by the way. She had a boyfriend, and I was just way too shy to be asking anybody out anyway. As you can tell, the shyness is gone. But
Into that.
Yes, TV did that. But I gotta say, so I'm confused, and I'm gonna ask another silly question. No silly questions, right? Okay.
No.
Yeah, but
I'm an open book, literally.
But there really are, and the book's not open yet; it's closed. But we're gonna open it in a little while. So, what? And I know you're gonna tell me it's the severity of. But what makes certain people die of breast cancer versus what makes people survive? Olivia Newton-John, for instance.
Sure.
I believe John Travolta's wife died of that as well.
Gosh, what was her name? She was so beautiful. I do believe so.
But
Kelly something. Right?
Yeah, Kristen, I think.
Yes.
Wow, I can't believe that.
God.
I know, right? No more weed, so I guess I'm doing okay.
Right.
But so what makes you, I won't use the word survivor, but what makes you okay and them not, other than maybe them finding it late or whatever? I'm asking because I really don't know the answer.
Yeah. And no, I think that's a great question, because I think there's so many factors. There's number one, when they catch it, what stage are they? There's stages 1 or 0, really 0 through 4. And I'm not technically a breast cancer guru or anything, but I have done a lot of research.
I would assume that you would have.
Yeah. So there's stages 0 to 4, and it depends on how early they caught it, the size of the tumor. Is it metastatic? Did it travel? Is it through their lymph nodes and stuff like that? So that's...
No. Did you have to remove both?
I didn't technically. My cancer.
You said, why not?
I'm a Libra. I need things balanced out. So I couldn't imagine having one.
Wait. It's all right. When I grew up as a kid, none of them are balanced. There's always, I don't know if this is really true, but everybody always said there was always one bigger than the other.
It is true. There's nothing perfect in any body, in anything in life, right?
Well, I think Jeannie's perfect.
You're so sweet. But I couldn't imagine having one fake and one real. That was just my mindset.
Doesn't even make sense.
Right. So it just,
and it's a chance that maybe it'll happen in the real one.
That's true.
I mean, most people probably would.
And there's still a chance.
So if there is somebody out there that was just diagnosed, what would you say to them?
About what? About the surgery or just in general?
Do you get rid of one? Do you get rid of two? I know it's a personal thing, and it's really, really extremely personal. But you lived through it. You went through it. And if they don't appreciate the opinion, I think that they would be closed-minded. I honestly feel since somebody lived through something, this is the positive of doing it, and this is the negative of doing it. That's just the way I see it, because there's a negative and positive to everything, right?
Absolutely.
But you have to take that negative and make it into a positive, and that's what you did. But
I'm going to say, I think it depends on not only the type of breast cancer that you have. Mine was triple positive. So that means mine was hormonal based and I had the HER2 positive gene or cell. There's also triple negative, which means it was not estrogen, it was not progesterone, it was not HER2 positive. And so it's like, where does that come from? I don't know. And even the doctors, I even asked my doctor because I've had a couple of loved ones diagnosed after I was diagnosed with triple negative.
So this runs in your family?
They weren't family. They were just like,
no, but does it run in your family?
It doesn't. An aunt had a form of breast cancer, but it's not always genetic. And I think that they're starting to find more and more that it is just like kind of environmental and it's just the genes. It's not necessarily just the genes anymore. So
it just happens.
It could. So triple negative is kind of like, I asked my doctor and he's like, we're still unsure, right? And the protocol for that may be a little different than a protocol for estrogen or progesterone or HER2 positive, right? In the chemo, the way that they do the radiation, what surgery. But it also is going to depend on the size of the tumor, where it's at. Mine was very large. So a lumpectomy for me, which is where they only kind of take out the tumor, but they don't remove the entire breast tissue. It was not even an option. My breast surgeon was like, no, you have to have a mastectomy, whether it's bilateral or single.
So for all the women and men out there, how did you first know that this is what you got? You started like, what's this? I mean, like, and you know, this is a real legitimate question because you wake up one day and then you start feeling something, or you know, and you kind of wonder to yourself, what is this? And should you go to the doctor to get it checked out, or should you say, no, it's fine, it's going to go away?
I'll say never. I always say go to the doctor. For me, I was not one who did the daily or weekly or monthly massage and check. So that is one thing that I'll tell every woman and every man out there. Do your own check. Go. There's lots of sites that there's one it's called Know Your Lemons. That's a breast cancer site and really walks you through how to do a breast check. And especially women, because our bodies are changing all throughout the month, right? And depending on the cycle and everything. Yeah, yes, exactly. So, I would say always do a check. And if you do find something, always call the doctor. They'll get you in, they'll double check it. I was not one who did the checks and it was too late. I was getting mammograms. I had 2 mammograms prior to, but the mammograms did not recognize the tumor.
Wow.
Yeah. So I'm not a huge fan of.
Okay. That's very interesting. So everybody out there, that it can be from any age, correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
Typically somebody over 25, usually.
Yeah, I mean, it can start earlier, but it's really kind of around like when your hormones are, in childbearing. I mean, it could potentially start then, but I don't think cancer knows any.
Age.
Yeah, and off limits. I mean, I don't.
We
think
do know that. We know young people with leukemia. I
Right.
mean, we're talking about
Right.
3, 4, 5 years old.
Right.
It breaks my heart.
Oh, and
I mean,
I
honestly, how do parents even deal with that? When I watch the St. Jude commercial, you want to change the channel really quick.
Yeah.
And not just that, but we want to change the channel really quick when you see the dog in the shelter.
When Sarah McLachlan singing Angel.
Yeah. If you don't do that, then you have no heart.
You have no heart.
Seriously, like, oh my God, I want to give them all my money. Oh wait, I don't have any.
Yeah.
So it's. How long did it take you to write the book?
A little over 2 years. It took me some time to really get in the groove of what my message really wanted to be. Because again, I wanted this to be somewhat light, an easy read. I wanted it to be accessible and not so heavy. And it really is that. I mean, it walks through, there's moments in the book that I know I'm getting ready to write and talk about some heavy stuff. So myself as a yoga instructor and one who thrives on meditation and really believes in the power that is within us, I also created what I call a breasties meditation guide. And anybody can go down go to my website, fortheloveofjugs.com, and scroll down to the bottom.
Probably won't forget the title.
Yeah, exactly. And there's an area where you can put in your name and your email, and you will be sent the Breasties Meditation Guide. And in that is a 17-page PDF with recorded meditations based on the specific chapters and the topics that we're talking about. So especially like first one is Welcome to the C Club, right? This club that nobody wants to be in. And when I start talking about
I just got that. Like a C Club. What is that?
Yeah, exactly. Once we're starting to talk about seeing your cancer diagnosis as a gift or as a, prison sentence, that can be really heavy and very triggering for some women and men, right? And so I have them pause, and in multiple times throughout the book, I'll say, now go to your Breasties meditation guide and listen to this meditation because I did one specifically for whatever it is that we're talking about. And then there's a lot of opportunity for journal prompts for them to write down. After each chapter, there's a few blank pages with journal prompts, with space to just put in their ahas, maybe just whatever they need to get out of their mind and just journal about. There's room in the book for that as well, because I feel like that's very cathartic.
So I'm going to ask you a silly question again. A woman finds out she has breast cancer. She's a tad bit of an introvert, has nobody around. Their family is in Michigan. The reason I say that is because everybody's from fucking Michigan. I have no idea why, but they are.
I'm not.
Did I say the F word? Oh my God, did you hear Trump this morning?
No, I love the F word, so we're fine.
I know, but
I mean, I'm sure everybody
YouTube doesn't necessarily like it.
Okay. Well,
so anyway, he was being interviewed on Fox, right live, and he goes about Israel and about Iran, and he goes, they don't know what the F they're doing. So,
awesome.
And no, but he said the whole word.
Oh, that's awesome.
Right. And Jeannie and I are like,
well, hello
said
there.
this on regular TV. I mean, and that they didn't even bleep it out. No, nothing. No.
Just go with it, I guess, right?
Sorry, I went off topic, and I do apologize, and I'm sure that one of my people will yell at me for that. But the book, what I guess, first of all, where can you find it?
Okay, so you can find it on Amazon or on my website.
Because on my podcast, I have an opportunity to pin the book to my podcast. So I'll pin your book to my podcast.
Great.
When you get to click on it, and then you can order right from the podcast.
Yeah, because this book was really designed to be the moment you hear somebody is diagnosed, any of your loved ones or friends or whatever, you want to send them that book, because there's also checklist in there. what's the word I'm looking for? It is not only kind of like gives like those spiritual things and like good integrative healing things, but then there's also practical things. Like you're getting ready to go to chemo or start chemo. Here's a really great list of all the things that you maybe want to purchase before or have with you that day and walk.
And the reason you know is because you did it, right?
Exactly. Right. So it's very practical, as well as like really giving the moments of like clarity and moments to tap into your intuition and moments to, kind of tap into your own power. Because like I said earlier, we give so much power to everybody outside of us. Think about how many times, I mean, you might not be this way, but I know that I have done this in the past, where I'm trying to make a decision in my mind. What do? I go to my husband, I go to my best friends, I go to my friends. What do you think I should do? Right?
I don't have any friends.
Okay. Well, you got 10,000 friends on YouTube.
No, those are acquaintances.
But you really, you're asking people outside of yourself rather than really tapping into your own inner power and be like, what really feels right to me? And I give so many opportunities for the women to read and to tap into that and give them certain tools to be able to tap into their inner power.
And that's awesome. Now, let's get to the reality part of this.
Yeah.
There are times that you're going to break down.
Yeah.
When you find out that you would have breast cancer. There's times you're going to cry. There's times
I
you're
still
going to
cry.
Right. So when that happens, don't think, oh my God, I'm giving in to the negativity of it.
No, you have to feel the feels.
You do.
You do.
And that's everything in life. So when that happens, it's not because you're being negative about it. Because I teach the law of attraction.
Yeah, you have to feel the feelings. You got to get them up and out.
Everything I teach people on the law of attraction, I told them they're going to be negative. What you do with that negativity is what counts.
Right.
So what you do with that crying, which is always good for you, by the way. I cry when people do the golden buzzer, for God's sakes. Crying is always good for you. So I want you to know there's a reality to this and read the book and follow the book, and I believe that it'll guide you through everything. That's my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, even just kind of starting with also like, what is your support team? So you started to ask this question. If you were in a place where you have no family around you, there's multiple things that you can do. I'm sure somebody has at least one friend that they can lean into that can come to the appointments with them or go sit with them at chemo. But also, when you're in chemo, you're also in a room of a lot of people that are going through the same experience or similar experience as you are.
Stuff are amazing.
Amazing. The nurses are amazing.
That's what they're trained for.
And they are, I mean, I have chills. I bought gifts and gave hugs after, when I was done. My nurses were phenomenal.
Do you really ring a bell, by the way? Yeah.
I did. I was able to. I was able to. They don't do it a lot of times because there's some people that will never be able to. But I did because it was at the end of the day because of my cold capping. I was there after everybody left.
Oh, so I'm saying you ring a bell, then, Miss Jones knows that she's never going to ring that bell and she'll feel like, instead of Miss Jones saying, well, good for her.
Right.
Because that's kind of the way I would think.
That's how I would think too, for
sure. Good for her. She did it. There's a different story for her.
Yeah. And, I actually put the video of me ringing the bell on my YouTube channel. Yeah. It was kind of
cool. I know this sounds pretty lame, but I watched the things from St. Jude, the commercials.
Yeah.
And you see some of the kids ringing the bell, and you see when the parents are crying, I'm crying with them.
I know.
And I'm starting to get teary now, and no joke, I'm a girl. I'm clearly a girl. Jeannie is the guy, I'm the girl. I get very emotional when I see those things. It is just something that you don't know if you can handle until you have to handle it.
It takes a special person, and my niece is a pediatrics oncology nurse in Atlanta. And I just, like I said.
How do you do that?
She's 25 years old. It's beautiful. But it takes a special person, and to be a nurse too, right?
And to be a medic.
First
anything
responders.
Like that, really, you go in there and somebody, well, I'm not going to get graphic, but
coming back to like you talking about like the feelings and, whether it's a cancer diagnosis or trauma or the loss of a loved one or even just loss of a job or anything. I mean, I feel like it's really important for people to understand that we really need to go through feeling all emotions, even if it's anger or rage. Obviously, you don't want to go hurt somebody, but going to like a rage room or punching a punching bag and, being understanding, like even those types of emotions need to be felt and up and out so that you don't hold on to them. Your cells don't hold on to them.
Right. I agree.
Because that is not good for our healing either. We need to release those from ourselves in order to be able to heal.
I agree. So we can get this book on Amazon, by the way, and the name of it, For the Love of Jugs. And is this self-published?
No. So I actually had a publishing team out of Nashville
Cool.
help me with it. But I hired them once the book was done and then just had my editor kind of help me with kind of some of the...
You know what an ISBN number is?
Yes, I do.
Right. I have 5 of them and I've used them. They're floating around somewhere. I don't know. They cost us money. I was in the process of writing the book. I said, screw this. This is way too hard.
Yeah.
So
it was a very an interesting journey for sure. I'm glad I did it. I know it's going to help a lot of women. I haven't been really great about getting it out so much, but I'm just kind of letting
Well, you are right now.
Yeah, I am now. And
so on the back, it just says, discover tools for managing stress and anxiety through mindfulness and meditation, balancing body, mind, heart, and soul for optimal healing, building a supportive tribe, and setting empowering boundaries, creating personal roadmap to thrive, not just to survive. Now, that's where the thrive comes in. It is an amazing book. I mean, it's got so much stuff in here, and there's a lot of freaking pages in here.
Yeah, 222.
222. I guess you have that memorized. And the font is actually quite big, which is an easy read.
Yeah.
For a dude my age, by the way. But I really probably would not even have to put my glasses on to read it.
Yeah, it's not too bad. And one of the things too, I've gotten a lot of response and really beautiful compliments on the book of even some people that have never gone through breast cancer, read it, and they said, Crissy, it's really relatable. You've made it so easy to read and relatable. So I just took your breast cancer out and I put in my autoimmune disease, and I was able to take a lot of the suggestions and tools and tips that you provided and just put it into my own scenario.
Because what you're saying here pretty much goes for everything that's going to be happening to you. It doesn't necessarily just have to be breast cancer.
No.
Number one, it could be any cancer.
Yeah.
It can oh God.
I think it's just the way that I also live life. And that is, I take and I put it into the breast cancer, scenario, but it is the way that I worked through my own healing. It is the way that I continue to work through my healing, because I'm not healed. Cancer may be out of my body, but I'm not healed from the emotional part of it. That comes and goes. Every now and then you'll catch me. I'll be like, wow, I'll have a memory pop into my head and it'll just bring tears. And I just let them go. I let them roll and feel the feel of it and then continue on. So
there's lots of people that have a difficult time letting things go.
Sure.
What would you recommend to them other than your book? Because it probably has answers as to how to let things go. Mm-hmm. But it's a mindset. Mm-hmm. And some people are optimists and some people are pessimists. We all know that.
Sure.
And granted, having breast cancer, I can't put myself in that situation. And so if you're a pessimist having breast cancer, it's not going to serve you. Mm-hmm. You need to lift yourself up.
You do. And I think it's about making it safe in your body and regulating your nervous system. I think at the end of the day, every single human on this planet needs to have a regulated nervous system, be in that rest and digest, that rest and restore of their parasympathetic nervous system. But we live very much in a world where everything is like bing, 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 bing. And we're stressed to the max, right? And for the longest time, people thought it was good to just be like, no, I get 3 hours of sleep and I'm just like working all day long. I got to make the money. And
Hey, wait, that's me. No.
but we really need to like live more of the day in that rest and restore and that calm space. And then so that when we do something happens that does call our stress response to come in, then we can tap into that. We do need it from time to time, obviously, but we do need to make our bodies more calm and restorative day in and day.
I have a motto, and I always, when people ask how I'm doing, I always say I'm living the dream. So it's mirrored in my store. It's actually that on that refrigerator there on the top round thing. I tattooed it on my arm.
Awesome.
I believe no matter how bad your day is, you have an opportunity to live your dream.
Absolutely.
If you don't, I'm going to say it's on you because it's a mindset. Put it out there. Let the universe listen. I know it sounds kind of, as you said, woo-woo kind of thing. And I'm not a woo-woo kind of guy. I'm not. And
I hate the word woo-woo, by the way.
But it's factual. I mean, even with the psychic stuff that I do, 90% of the psychics are fake. We just did a podcast on that yesterday, but you'll have to watch that. So what are your last words to close to somebody that's going through something right now? And how do they get to your website? How do they do all that?
So I would say for the beautiful pink sisters going through it right now.
And brothers.
And brothers, that's right. Is to just really tap into your own inner power. Really tap into your own intuition. Do things, make decisions that feel right to you, because our bodies can heal when we have a really beautiful connection to our bodies. So I love just every single morning, hand on my belly, hand on my heart, close my eyes, take a few deep breaths. And it helps to kind of like regulate you, right? It's just, and then it allows you to be present. It allows you to build a deeper connection to yourself and to be able to do things in life. So I would say kind of creating somewhat of a ritual every day, either it's morning, night, or both, to just kind of center yourselves and, be present, and be really connected with what is and what feels right in your bodies. And then they can go to fortheloveofjugs.com. And then I'm also on Instagram a lot, and it's flow_ with Crissy Florio, and it's FLO_ with Crissy. And then I do have a YouTube channel, but I haven't been doing too much on that yet.
Oh boy.
Yet.
So if I made the thumbnail, I'm not sure if you know what a thumbnail is, but if I made the thumbnail of this podcast stating the name of your book, would that be okay with you?
Absolutely.
Okay. It's on the air, so you heard it. I got permission to do it. Because typically those things are copyrighted, and I would not be able to do it unless I ask your permission to do that. But I think it's so captivating in so many ways. So, like, people are going to say, for the love of Jug, I'm going to click on that.
Yeah.
I mean, what is that? But then I can put on the bottom the journey dealing with, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. It's Rusty's Guide. Your
so that's right here.
Creating Grace and Ease.
Journey.
Yeah.
It'll always be a journey. No matter what you're doing in life, it's a journey. And everything that happens to you is a lesson. It's not necessarily a cloud over your head. It's something that you needed to learn from what happened to me as a child, what happens to me as an adult. These are all lessons that I had to learn in life, and thank God I learned them because it helped me be the individual that I am today, along with Jeannie guiding me to be the individual I am today. Thank God for that, because, I didn't grow up in an overly positive family.
Same.
And she kind of warmed me up to that. So I did change my life. So don't forget to get the book For the Love of Jugs.
You laugh every time. I laugh every time.
What can I say? And look for this podcast and hit subscribe. And you are on Instagram
Yes.
for the same title?
No, flow_ with Crissy.
Yeah, why did we do that?
I don't know. I've had the flow with Crissy.
You can change the name.
I probably could.
It would probably suit you to do so.
Maybe I'll do that.
All right, very good. We'll talk to you guys later.
Thank you.
Have a blessed day.
One
Talk to
love.
you tomorrow.
Bye.
Bye.